I've got an assistant with me today. Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like and consume. Things like Doctor Who, things like the MCU, and things like Star Trek, which is what I'm reviewing today. And I'm joined by Paige. She has not seen Star Trek. I don't think you've seen any Star Trek.
No.
But she's off school at the moment because it's Christmas, and she wanted to be in the video, so she is. She doesn't really have anything to say because she hasn't watched the episode, but there you go. I watched Star Trek Discovery Episode 6, Stormy Weather. So I went into this episode and immediately I was a little bit wary because it was focusing very heavily on the anomaly stuff, which if you've watched any of my reviews so far, isn't gripping me. The mystery of the anomaly isn't particularly gripping me. It's just another mystery box thing out in space, blah, 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 blah. It's not particularly thrilling. At least I'm not finding it so. But to give this episode some credit, even though it did focus heavily on that, there were some good elements in there. Particularly, I liked the development we got for Zora, the ship's computer that had merged with the sphere data, because we started to get a little bit of her character coming through, which was nice. We got to see her interacting with more of the crew, which was lovely. We got to you mimicking my hand movements. Is that what you're doing? You're just copying my hand movements. She's my sign. You need to learn sign language, then you can be my sign language interpreter. Neither of us know sign language. But it was really nice, and we got some lovely moments with Zora interacting with Grey in particular, where Grey was helping the ship's computer through dealing with her newfound emotions. And that was a lovely scene, very nice trajectory for the character. I really felt that we've been missing out on, they teased this Zora thing at the end of the last season, but it didn't really go anywhere until now. So I'm glad we're getting that. The other interesting stuff was, again, Booker's stuff, which I've said has been my most interested in storyline so far this season, where he has basically is suffering the PTSD, but in this episode, when he tries to jump from inside the anomaly through the rift that was created by the anomaly, he ends up having visions of his father. Are they visions? Are they just his brain having had a shock and a certain part of his brain going on overdrive? That's what Dr. Kolber thinks, anyway. And that's left very ambiguous. But seeing his interactions with his father is another way of exploring the kind of survivor's guilt he's feeling, and setting up potentially some things for the future. Like, is there going to come a point where he has to choose between his mission to avenge what happened to his planet and his love of his life, Burnham, that she's as his father said in one bit in his head, that Burnham's priority is she's always gonna pick Starfleet over you. Now, was that his subconscious worrying that was the case, or is that really the spirit of his father or some kind of thing talking to him? In the end, he chooses to believe that it is his father, simply because then that means that all of those people that died, all of his brother, his nephew, that they survive on somewhere as well. So he chooses to believe that, and that it's not his own self-doubt. It's another nice storyline that we get out of this. The main plot itself, though, while it didn't massively thrill me, it did give me... Maybe it got me a little bit more interested in the mystery than I was. Particularly the fact that it seems to have come from outside the universe. We got some nice hints there. Sorry if this is very distracting. We got some nice hints there about and references back to the kind of the particles that you pick up from going through the galactic barrier at the edge of the universe. Obviously referencing back to the original series and things where they did that. So that's nice. And there was one moment where they're trapped inside this anomaly and can't work out how to get out, and they decide to use sonar. And I must admit I was a little bit distracted around that point, but was that a reference to, did anybody else's mind go to Star Trek 4 The Voyage Home there, and whatever alien race created the probe that was after the whales? Because that's where my mind went, where as soon as they started talking about sonar. like I said, I wasn't really paying that much attention to the dialogue around it, so I probably missed something, and it's probably quite clear that it isn't. But that's an interesting possibility, isn't it? That it could be the people that created the whale, the whale seeking probe from Star Trek 4. There was also another nice reference to because how they decide in the end that they work out with the sonar that they can get to the barrier, but to go through by the time they get through the barrier, their shields will be down, which means that they would all burn up basically and die if they tried to go through it. But they work out a plan to send the crew into the pattern buffer as they pass through it, and therefore saving them. And there's a nice reference back to, they say, oh, there is cases of people surviving a long time in the pattern buffer, which I took to be a reference to Scotty surviving, 100 years in a pattern buffer between some point after Star Trek Generations and the episode of TNG where he gets revived from the pattern buffer. So I'm a little bit more intrigued by this whole plot, but I'm still not 100% there. It's I'm intrigued where it goes a little bit more than I was before, but it's still probably in terms of the main plot one of the least interesting episodes for me because it focuses so heavily on the anomaly. But we'll see. I also have a few problems with some of the decisions that people made in this episode. Just like really weird decisions that a couple of the characters made. Like Gray deciding when he has this epiphany about something the captain needs to know while having a discussion with Zora. And he runs to the bridge to tell the captain rather than, using the comms system to get the information to the captain a lot quicker. Don't know. Weird decision that. Talking of the captain... Burnham May also makes a weird decision to stay behind. And it kind of comes across as like she's going to stay because, she wants to keep Zora company. And yeah, okay, she's bonded with Zora, who is gotten this kind of personality and emotions and becoming more like a real person. And I get the captain that Burnham has kind of bonded with her most out of all the crew. But it seems an odd choice because she doesn't need to stay behind to complete the mission. Zora could do all that by herself. So to stay seems and put her own life at risk, and she does almost die, seems a really weird choice, and she doesn't need to. But they do get out, and at the very end there's a nice little conversation between Booker and Saru about sort of the anger they feel towards the racers that have done their own racers harm. In Booker's case, whoever created this anomaly, and in Saru's case, what they called the Bakula, I think they were called, or something like that. Whatever race hunted his people for millennia, and now he has to sit in a council opposite with. And he says, no, I still have anger towards them, and it's righteous anger. But, we just have to get on with it. And that was a nice moment in terms of kind of harnessing your anger for good rather than just for pure vengeance. Nice message in there as well. So overall, I didn't dislike this episode. And there was, like I say, the Zora stuff. It was good to get some stuff development for her. And it was good to get some more of the Booker stuff. It's the most consistent plotline in this series, I think, so far. The anomaly stuff is maybe hooking me in a little bit more, but still not fully on board with it yet. We'll see where it goes. That's my thoughts of this episode. And I do need to introduce you to Star Trek probably at some point. There's a new kids TV show I need to get you to watch at some point, Star Trek Prodigy. But in the meantime, goodbye from me. Goodbye from my mostly silent but very hand-active assistant here. And I, at least, will see you for another review next time. Goodbye.
And I will as well.
Oh, apparently she will as well.